Hey, I'm Ethan.
Hey, I'm Mike.
I watched the first half of How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies.
I watched the second half of How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies.
And this is the other half.
All right, Ethan, I'm ready. You ready for this?
Yeah. What? Oh no! Mike just put a Kleenex on the table.
I put a Kleenex box on the table.
Oh no! I thought this was gonna happen.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, this movie looks good. Also,
it's about old people.
Old people. Shit. It's like a smoking gun. Because I'm like, oh, first half movie's fun. I watched first half. It was great.
Gee, I wonder a movie about a dying old lady. How it's gonna end.
I wonder if it's gonna be real fucking sad. Someone who has cancer.
People have been drinking a little bit, so we're feeling
all
a
right.
toasty.
All right. This is a good
So
bit.
if you're ever feeling it,
all right, I'll feel it.
Here, look,
Let's see how we go.
This is real ASMR of a Kleenex
tissue's
box.
really noisy. No for how noisy they are. Every time you blow your nose, it's like the sun chip bag. You're putting it on your nose. It's crazy.
Sitting right in between us. So if you're ever feeling it,
I will take you up on that offer. But yeah,
I was watching the last half of this movie, and I remember, I think last week or week before, we were like, we got to see a movie. You know, we were like, what movie is there? This was a movie that was on.
This is a movie on the list. Like my personal, I want to watch this at some point. List, and I'm like, I'm never actually gonna sit down and watch this movie.
And so we're like, let's pick this one. We have seen a lot of bad films. We've seen Red One. We've seen 200 Cigarettes. We've seen Christmas Wedding Planner. We've seen Santa
That's gonna make me stop it. You're gonna make me cry.
So we're like, let's watch a movie that's good. And wow, is it hard to watch an actually genuinely emotionally vulnerable film after watching all that bullshit?
Oh no, a movie that's very small has a budget of probably $10, it feels like. But
has
really uses it.
Genuine vulnerability is how I would actually describe this film. It's a very vulnerable film. It there's a lot of goofy
it's very funny.
There's some funniness to it, definitely. There's some humor, but for me, it's more there's a lot of really sappy music. It almost has a Forrest Gump style music choice to it, the way the piano is used.
It's weird because it feels our favorite movie, a little bit like Dad.
I was thinking the same thing. It was exactly like Dad. It reminded me a lot of Dad.
I hate how much Dad has come on this podcast. Ever since we've watched Dad, it is like a fucking
barometer.
It is the barometer. You're right. It's showing exactly where the sappiness level is. And it's goes a little high, goes to the Dad territory.
Yeah. It's all sides point to Dad.
All sides point to Dad, baby. We're gonna read his podcast, The Other Dad. That's what's gonna happen. But no, honestly, I was thinking here's the thing. Dad's too sappy. This movie feels like it's very reserved.
Yes, very much.
It's funny, but it's funny in a way that real people react to awful situations and dying. Where it's I'm gonna make a sarcastic comment because I'm about to die and I'm kind of scared and I don't want to reveal myself, sort of thing. Not I'm gonna fucking carry my dad into the hospital. I'm dead dancing.
Dad, I'm a dad, and he's my dad, and my son will be dad.
No, it's a very cynical movie at the beginning. It's
massively.
It's very I think that's what this movie works for me is that it's all about kind of someone who's in it for the gread, and then I imagine. I mean, this is one of those movies where I know kind of where it probably goes to an extent. To an extent,
maybe.
But. It starts off very cynical, and I think it's very accurate to probably just a lot of people and how they may feel in their family situation.
There's a cynicism to it, but there's also and for me, because I didn't catch the cynicism in my half of the movie as much, because the cynicism you're probably mentioning is M, the main character, who is taking care of his dying grandma in hopes that she will give him the house and the money. But in my half of the movie, I was unaware that was M's motivation. I didn't know that that's what M was really getting.
I think by your half of the movie, it kind of fades away a little bit more. It's not less of motivation.
But from my half of the movie, it was more of a very almost like a very sad way of looking at, I think, how most people look at death is not necessarily, very much so people look at death as how can I make out of this? I'm not dying. My older family member is dying and they have money to give me. But there's also the question of my older family member is dying and that's expensive. You have to worry about like paying for their health care. You have to worry about paying for their medical bills. You have to worry about paying for their burial plot. Like, you know, it is expensive to die. And that is another thing this movie is. I mean, the movie literally has like money in the title of the film.
Yeah.
It is there is a very clear and sadly, honestly, genuinely depressing correlation between human life and monetary value.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this movie is very much in conversation with, is the idea of like a person who is dying is still a person and people still need money. Yeah. And even when they're dying or dead, they still need money in order to, you know, in order to even die. People need money to die in certain cases. And I think that was the thing that was really hard for me when I was watching my half of the movie, because I was unaware that M was in it for the meal ticket.
Reasons. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, Jesus Christ, it's so fucking sad. This old lady's dying. She just wants to like live out the rest of her days in some form of comfort. And it's like, in order to do that, she has to pay money. She has to like beg people for money. She doesn't have the money to live, to die. She doesn't have the money to die comfortably.
I think it's the thing that's also interesting is this is a movie that is completely shot in Taiwan. Oh shit, was it Taiwan or Thailand?
I think it's Thailand.
Thailand, yeah, Thailand. And we don't know exactly how their healthcare system works.
No,
it seems not great.
No.
But where do we have to talk? Like,
I was going to say.
It's not great. Although,
it can
when she's in line to get chemo, she's leaving, like, shoes out to leave her place in line, and they have to get up at, like, 4 a.m. to go get chemotherapy, which seems kind of worse in some ways. It's pretty bad, but obviously it seems like it costs money, so I don't know.
I was going to say, like, how...
I don't know. There's a lot of things in here also culturally that I'm just like, I don't know how this works, you know, because the very opening of this movie, they're starting off doing kind of like a honor of the dead type ceremony. And, you know, the grandma's there. She's praying to the enlightened one. And they're like, why are you praying to this person? We don't even know this person's grave. And she's like, that's okay. What I want to do is when I die, I want to be buried in a big plot so we can all like die here. But it costs like millions to purchase it.
Yeah.
And all these...
Costs $1 million bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how much this isn't like compared to the U.S. That's millions is still a lot.
$1 million is a lot.
Yeah.
$1 million is a lot. Yeah.
But also, I gotta say, these fucking grave sites look sick as hell. These are so cool. People are lighting off like fireworks and stuff. They're going all out, and I'm like, this is awesome. Anyway, yeah, I was just gonna say that like it's a different culture that I'm not 100% aware of, but I think there's a universal, speaking of just what it's like to see someone get older, to really actually sit down and spend time with like your elders, or people who are older in your life. I think there's something really genuine that it speaks to that is universal to all cultures.
Very much so.
Regardless of like family dynamics, like I know in a lot of Asian countries it's a lot more common to like live with your family a lot longer, while in like Western we're always like, get out of there, move out. You can't be with your family forever. You gotta move out and make your own way and make your own family.
Right.
And even that comes into kind of some push and pull in even this movie, you know, like those ideals, you know, the more quote unquote modern, like move out sort of thing and or live with someone.
That is a good point. Yeah, this movie's also in conversation with like M is a much more like modern person, whereas his grandma's not. So his grandma is like, you know, I want you to bury me in a big plot, because if you bury me in an expensive plot, then that will result in our family being more prosperous. Yeah. Like it's good luck. And M's like, people die, doesn't matter. Like if people die, that doesn't result in any kind of good or bad.
She's very faith oriented, like always praying to goddesses and things like that, trying to like get wishes for good health and things like that. And he's just like, whatever, they're all fucking dead. Who cares? You know,
exactly.
Like, very modern. Anyway, I guess I'll just start with my half of the movie, and we
Why
can
not?
kind of even like examine things as we go on. But yeah, so they're saying like so we got a couple different characters, right? We got M, our main character.
Right.
And we also have...
How great is it to have a main character that's just one letter?
So nice. It's so easy.
It's so easy.
Because I didn't know anyone else. I have Fun Uncle. I have Serious Uncle.
Serious Uncle's glasses. Fun Uncle smokes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
See, exactly.
Yes.
You can say it's Soy, the Fun Uncle. Mm-hmm. And then we have the mom, which is M's actual mom. Who is directly related to Grandma.
And the uncles are obviously her brothers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Serious Uncle has a wife and a kid. The kid's named Rainbow.
Yeah, kid's named Rainbow.
Easy, very easy to remember.
Yes.
And that's kind of our main cast.
Yes.
Right.
And then there's Deadbeat. Well, there's Deadbeat Fun Uncle who doesn't have anybody.
Yeah. Deadbeat Fun Uncle. Yeah, exactly. But Deadbeat Fun Uncle is like, yeah, I'm going to make $1 million before you die, and I'm going to give it to you. It's going to be awesome. It's easy to make money nowadays. And Grandma's like telling M, like, hey, pay attention. Like, he's on his phone. He's just kind of fucking around. He's not really being invested in this kind of honor.
He's playing video games.
He's playing video games. And she's like, we honor the dead, not the silly games. And he says, look, I'm here. That uncle, his family's not even here.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm at least here, present. She's like, whatever. She talks about wanting to be buried in a big plot. And they say, like, it's once a year, and, like, his family's never, ever come to, like, done this. Like, they've never come this whole time. And I think it's this whole movie, they constantly go back with, like, what have you done? What have you done? Do you earn this? Do you deserve this? How much have you done to... It makes Grandma feel like an obligation.
Right.
And they're always like, how much have you paid into this obligation?
Right.
Which is very sobering, but also very realistic to a lot of people, I'm sure, where it's just like, I'm paying my dues to the family, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want to do this. I'd rather be, you know, playing video games or whatever.
Right.
But I'm out here because
it is a
I
chore
feel obligation. It's a chore. It's
hang out with a human being.
It's not a fun thing to hang out with Grandma. Grandma's boring. She smells weird, you know?
Right,
like,
right. She's boring. She doesn't play video games.
She doesn't play video games. She plays cards. Ew. So
she doesn't even know about Tomato Town.
She doesn't. Rainbow. Yeah, they never. Okay, so M like actually has to pour some flowers out, but he just kind of pours them instead of scatters them.
Yes.
And she's like, this is important.
Yeah.
You have to scatter them. She's like, why does it matter? Our ancestors in the clouds, you know. And she's like, you're a good for nothing sucker. And then he's like, whatever. And he goes and plays on his phone. And then is a great scene where it's shot really well, where he's in the front, she's in the back, and then she just fucking falls over. She just falls.
Oh shit.
Just takes a tumble. And then cut to her being dropped off at the hospital. All the uncles are like, I got places to be. I got to go somewhere. And even M is like, I got stuff to do. And only his mom stays behind to hang out with actual Grandma. And then we cut to M. He's, you know, playing Dead by Daylight. Having a good time. Mom comes home.
Did this hit a little close to home for you?
I don't play Dead by Daylight. I don't do that. I don't fuck with that shit. But Mom comes home and says, only 4 viewers, huh?
Oh, he's streaming?
He's streaming.
Oh.
Also, stream with your mom in the way? Come on. Your mom's going to come in and talk shit on you? That's a big
L. I mean, honestly, I would watch a stream if somebody got fucking shit on by his mom.
Came in, yeah. He's like, he goes up to her. He's like, hey, can I use your credit card to get another computer for gaming? She's like, another computer? And I'm like, another computer? You're already playing Dead by Daylight. That's not taxing your computer that much.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, the stream, OBS is taxing his computer.
You could do that. It's fucking Dead by Daylight. You're not playing anything high end.
Yeah.
You can run that shit on a phone.
Which he does
not
sometimes.
anymore. You can't. But anyway, she's like, can I use your card? She's like, why don't you use your card? He's like, oh, I maxed it out. It's bad. You know, it's like, good. I hope they freeze you out. I can't believe you quit school to become a video game caster. I'm like,
that is a pretty rough choice.
Pretty rough choice.
Yeah.
Especially when you're rolling with 4 viewers. Oof. Oof.
I feel like you should only quit school if you've gotten the established audience.
If you're rocking around with like,
even then though, I still wouldn't.
Yeah, it's still a little too volatile. But even then, it's like, at least you're like, oh, this is something I could maybe make money off of. Not, I'm gonna do it because I think I can.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, Dead by Daylight's too saturated. You gotta pick a more indie game. Like,
what would be a good one for him to choose?
Oh, I don't know.
Mouthwash.
Mouthwashing? That game's only 3 hours. He's got to pick some weird indie game. I don't know. Maybe like a Valheim streamer or something. You know, something kind of like big but not too big.
Check out our Discord where we are constantly posting about Ethan's streams on Twitch.
It's true. And
he's got way more than 4 viewers.
I got more than 4 viewers, so
he's got at least 20 to 30.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, regularly.
Yeah. That's decent.
On average. That's a pretty good amount.
Come join in. Make those numbers higher. Make me know so I'm not like M. Sad. Anyway, Mom says like, hey, so, you know, he's obviously back on the game, doesn't care. And Mom's like, hey, you know, Grandma had blood in her stool and stomach aches, and they took some tests, and she actually has cancer. She's in the final stages, like stage 4. And he's just like, oh, whatever, I don't care. And she's like, she has like 12 months to live. And he's like, okay. And she's like, you need to spend some time with her, but don't mention her diagnosis. Don't talk about it at all. Which I think is a wild concept, just to not know about your own body.
I know.
But that's very Western of us.
That's like in the farewell.
Yeah,
I think,
the farewell.
Right?
That's like the whole plot. Is that like
obviously not the same? America. I'm not comparing. Like those are very different cultures.
Very different movie,
yeah,
but
it's
like
very
the
separate,
same idea of just like not telling.
Keeping information from the dying person. Yeah.
And then it's like, she's like, you should go with your grandma, and he says, what would you give me to stay with her? I'm just like, damn.
Ouch. She's like, I'll show up for your streams.
I'll give you a lurk, bro.
Yeah. I'll lurk while I'm at work.
Yeah.
She works at like a convenience store or something, right?
I'm not 100% sure where she works, but it does seem like it's a very taxing job, whatever she does. She wants to retire, though, at some point, and
good luck,
like
man.
she's going to do that with her deadbeat son.
Yeah.
He gets a message from someone in his family saying, check the TV for Grandpa. And he goes there and he fixes the TV for Grandpa, and he sees Mui, who I'm sure you're aware of.
Yeah. Who is she?
She's your cousin.
Okay. Got it.
And she is helping Grandpa, which I think is on his paternal side. Different side, Grandpa.
Different side, yes.
Different Grandpa. And she's got her nursing degree and like graduated nursing school. And she's very close to her grandpa. He's like, who's your favorite person? And he points to the screen, which is a bunch of like Victoria's Secret models on it. It's very grandpa move.
Yeah.
And then she's like, she says like, oh, you know, when I graduated, they expect me to get a high paying job. And he's like, well, why didn't you get a high paying job? And he's like, actually, I already am.
The nursing?
She says, she's a stay at home nurse for her own grandpa.
Yeah. And she's also on OnlyFans.
And then he's dead. Grandpa dies. That's her pay. Payout.
I love how this movie's edited. Like it is. I don't know how much of it is in your half of the movie, but in my half of the movie, as grandma starts to like deteriorate, it's like cut, no hair, cut, she's in bed, cut, she's attached to a machine, cut, she's dead.
Oh my god!
And it's like
spoilers.
Well, yeah, obviously she's gonna die.
Hey man, they keep saying she might get better,
but it's like. But it's so fucking, it's like painful because it's like the time is just slipping by. And it's like, it's not as if it's like cut. It's not like a Michael Bay cut. It's more just like, there's no easing into her deterioration. It's just like, it's happening. And and like, you know, it seems like everyone else is pretty much stagnant and grandma is the one like change. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. It's painful, but I kind of like that creative decision.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I agree. But anyway, he's dead. And we cut to M. He's getting an inheritance with his mom. And it's just like a silver belt. And she's like, oh, and mom takes it from him. He's like, don't pawn this. You don't need this money right now. We'll save it for you. He's like, oh, do I get anything else? And the person doing the inheritance and like passing out was like, no. You don't get anything. All the money, even like his direct descendants, everything, even the house went to Mui. Everything.
Oh,
because she's the only one who stood by him
right
the whole time.
She was there, and so M's gotten the idea.
Exactly. So Mui like leaves after like this is a really cool tradition, I guess. But they like have a model of his house, and she like burns it.
Whoa!
I'm like, that's fucking cool.
That's crazy.
Oh, that's crazy. Like when someone dies,
that's some like Hereditary shit.
Yeah, I know, right? I love it. And she burns it. She burns it and walks by M and gives him a look. And I'm like, damn, I don't know. That's some queen shit right there.
Yeah. Girl boss shit.
And then finally we get the credits. The credits of the actual movie.
I love a good delaying that credit shit.
It's M walking around
edging
Thailand.
On the opening credits. That's what I'm talking about.
Mike's a little goon for the credits. He's the credit gooner. Gooed it over here. What's that gonna happen? Gotta explain.
Drive My Car was the best edge I've ever had.
He's chasing ever since.
Yeah.
I think when it's Drive My Car, it's a good drift.
Yeah, that's right.
Come out of that drift. When are you gonna show me the sweet, sweet title cards? M's walking around taking pictures of the city I guess he's in, and where she lives, and he walks up to grandma's place and it literally goes, damn, ancient. It's like he's never been here before. She lets him in. It's like, wow.
Can you describe her place?
Okay, so it's like a concrete kind of, it's definitely attached to other buildings.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like on street level. Doesn't really have a real door. It just kind of has like
an opening at the
bottom that has you know, in the security kind of like latches that are just kind of there. It's just like a security gate. Yeah, exactly. Lets all the bugs in and everything. You know, it's not like it's very old school, right?
It's like a 2 to 3 story like building, sort of thing too, where it's like the bottom floor is her kitchen, which is open to
everything.
Room.
Yeah.
In her living room. And then the upper stories are like bedrooms.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
Yeah.
Very old
But it's
school.
a big concrete like building. And she's one small like slice of it, essentially.
Yes, exactly. And she mentions that like, oh, your uncles came here last week.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, she's like, oh, open up for your grandson. I brought you beef. And she's like, I pray for the goddess who doesn't want her to eat beef.
Yes.
She's like, oh, okay. So he's like, oh, well, I got to get her food. So she goes out. She's like, what do you like to eat? She's like, oh, I eat this fish. Goes out, sees this huge line for this fried fish. He's like, oh, he sees some fish just sitting on the side. And he's like, I guess I'll take that. And he just takes this side fish, brings it to her, and she's like, I've been going to this stall for like 40 years. This is not his fish. This is some other fish. I'm not gonna eat this greasy shit. And he's like, okay, so he goes, he waits in line, he gets the fried fish, brings it back, the real fried fish.
Right.
And he's like, here, I brought you fried fish. She's like, I'm already full. I ate the fish you gave me. She's like, oh. So she's like, I'm gonna make some tea for the gods. He's like, oh, let me do that for you. So he microwaves the tea, and she's like, no, I didn't hear the kettle going. You gotta make it the right way. You gotta make it with the kettle. Get out of here. You're annoying. You came to visit.
You're bad at this.
Yeah, like you never came to visit before. Why are you starting now?
Right.
So M goes to the estate for this. It seems like the estate's being sold off for his grandpa, which Mui's patriarch, I guess.
Sure.
They call it eggnog.
Eggnog?
I think that they call him eggnog.
Oh, okay.
Eggnog. I believe that's the term in Thai for like affectionate, like patriarch person of the estate.
Sure. Like, what do they call grandma? Like ama or something like that?
Yeah, they call ama. Yeah, but I just put grandma because
no, it's a similar thing.
Similar thing, yeah. So they go to his estate, and he gets like a box from it, and they're like, yeah, Mui wanted to throw us all out. And he takes it to her. She's like, why'd you bring this to me at the fancy restaurant? I want to throw us all out. He's like, I didn't want to throw it out, but like, I want to know how I can get paid for easy work like you did. And she's like, all right. So she brings her back to her room, and it's like a hotel. She's like, oh yeah, I stay at this hotel because I want to save all the money from the house. So I live in this hotel every day, and I get free breakfast, and it's like a fancy hotel. And he's just like, oh, that's nice. And he sees like a nurse outfit. She's like, oh, you got your nursing outfit, right? She's like, oh, that's not for actual nursing. That's for my OnlyFans account.
I fucking knew it. Yeah,
and she's like, I get a higher rate when I wear that. Want to subscribe? And then she starts mentioning like, we kissed before, remember? We used to play house, and he looks uncomfortable. He's like,
oh my god, Mui.
Anyway, I think she's just fucking with him. Anyway, so why do you want to look after your grandma? And do you look at her like an asset? He's like, come on, man.
Yeah,
that's messed up. I don't think we're like that. But then he's like, I don't know, a little bit, I guess. He's like, do you think what we're doing is wrong? And she's like, well, honestly, like, his kids didn't do shit.
Yeah.
Like, I hate them. They came like once a week for 15 minutes, and then they like just left. It was kind of like a check-in. They didn't really do anything. They weren't
there for him.
Yeah. And you know, our time is what they're actually craving. Like, all the old people just want to hang out with someone. They want to like not be forgotten.
Yeah.
And he's like, so how did you get to be number one? Like, how did you get to be the number one person to get the inheritance? And she says, you know what they want more than anything else? They want to not count the minutes.
They want to forget.
Yeah, they just want to hang out and have a good time. They don't want to just sit around and be bored the whole time.
Yeah.
And she says, like, does your grandma smell weird to you? He's like, yeah, but like old people just smell weird. She's like, that's because you don't hang out with her enough. Once you do that, you'll start to get to know her more. Which is interesting. I think Mui's a really interesting character because like I can't tell if she's in it fully for the money or if she actually did like hang out with her grandpa. You know, like I think it was kind of a combination where she's just kind of like, yeah, that's like a cool bonus, but also like, I don't know. Grandpa's all right. He seemed like a cool guy.
I mean, I think that she's an interesting character. I think she's supposed to be a little bit hard to read. I think a lot of nurses are that way too. I think it's like you are so close to death consistently day to day. It's like you have this sort of like, you need to be able to look at human beings in a different way than just like, you know, I don't know. I think it's difficult for her to actually put into words how she feels about her grandpa. And I think by doing so, her character is difficult to read necessarily. Yeah. But I will say we do get a bit more information about her and her grandpa later in the movie that might help you a bit.
No, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Okay, so he takes a picture of his computer, and then he goes and sells it, and he walks up to it and whispers to it, I'll buy you back when I have the money.
Oh, the computer.
The computer. So he's gonna move in with his grandma. He actually breaks into her house.
Jesus.
By giving her, like, it was a key that her mom gave him. And he's like, here's a bunch of money I have. I hope it helps. She's like, why is everyone here? All these tests say I'm fine, but like everyone's around here. And then he
tests say she's fine?
That's what she was told. All the tests she had.
Oh, because she wasn't told. I see. Okay.
And he says, hey, man, grandma, uncles want you to know this, but you got stage 4 cancer.
Whoa.
And they think you have a year to live. And she's just kind of quiet, like, okay.
She doesn't know how to deal with that.
And he's like, the reason I'm here is because I think you've been really good to us, me and my mom, and like, I wanna be here because, you know, I don't know how much longer you're gonna have. Like, I want to actually be here for you.
Right.
And she's like, okay, well, thank you. She initially refused the money, but she's like, I'll put this towards my utility bills, and then tells him to wake up and we're gonna sell some congee at 5 a.m. And he's like, 5 a.m. Why so early? He's like, early bird gets the worm. He's like, well, the late bird is also the late worm is good too.
It's funny. Later on, M uses that exact same terminology to describe streaming early in the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know if that works. Okay. So he sleeps through his alarm, does a bad job, wakes up late. Mom actually arrives and is throwing out all of Grandma's old fridge stuff. He's sleeping in the living room. It's kind of weird that he's not sleeping in the actual bedroom.
Yeah. Well, maybe they don't. Do they have a bedroom?
I think they're expected to sleep in Grandma's room, but I could be wrong. They notice Grandma's shoes are too small. And he's like, why are you here, Mom? Mom's like, we're always here every Sunday. You don't know that because you never hang out. And then so everyone comes over, including the uncles. Rainbow's here, and even the strict uncle's wife is here.
Right.
And Grandma's like, let's just play some cards with everyone. It'll be fun. And fun uncle's like, yeah, let's do it. But then unfun uncle is like, no, you need a rest, Ma. And she's like, listen, everyone, I know about the cancer thing. And everyone's like, oh, shit.
Oh, shit. Who told her?
Who told her? And it's like, she's like, M told me. And she's like, he says, you know, she had a right to know about it. She's like, I don't want to be a burden. I'll see the doctor on my own. And then everyone starts arguing about how they mooch and all this stuff. But then Rainbow's cute. She shows up and she's like, don't worry, Grandma. When I get older, I'll be a doctor and make you feel better. And we'll play cards. It'll be great.
Okay. And
then Cool Uncle just pops up and is like, I was taking a dump earlier and almost broke my neck on your bathroom, so I'm going to install some guardrails to make it easier for you. And M's like talking to his mom. Mom's like, I gotta take her to chemotherapy, which also is wild to me because it's like, if you're never going to tell her about her,
how will you take her to chemo?
How will you take her to chemo? Or they're just going to be like, oh well, you're dead. Like, what is the idea?
Yeah,
that's a wild thing to really. Because chemo's not like,
it's not.
You can't really be like, oh like, man, I don't know what this feels like. You know,
losing hair.
Yeah, there's like a lot of side effects.
Yeah,
it's a pretty rough experience.
It's a good question.
Yeah. So yeah, what do you expect from her? So Mom is actually like trying to get her to get some strength. She's like putting her at the pool, and she's like, "You took off work for this?" Grandma says, and Mom's like, "Yeah, I did." And I didn't take off work. They're like, "Don't get fired." She's like, "I actually am taking a night shift."
Yes.
And she doesn't want to reveal that though. M reveals it instead.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, you do all this stuff for me. Like, you dropped out of school to sell congee with me. You work harder than your brother, but you see nothing from it. And she's like, I don't want to do any of this. Get out of here. And then they're in the changing room, and M's like, hey, you know, I saw Grandma crying in the changing room. And she's like, that's impossible. That woman never shed a tear in her whole life.
It's impossible.
And then M's like, you're always the one who cries all the time for her. And then, they say the more the bicker, the worse she is. You guys got to get along. M says, I could take her to chemo. He meets with Mui, actually, who's like, I know how to drive you to chemo. So she drives. Mui actually knows Chinese, which is, I think she really appreciates, because I believe she's actually from China and can speak Chinese. While I don't think everyone else is Thai. So they're like,
I think everyone's, nobody else is able to speak it.
No, but she thinks that's very nice.
Yeah.
So they wake up at 4 a.m. They go to a super crowded hospital. They put shoes in line to keep their spot. Grandma comes home from after chemo, says my insides are on fire. She's like, hey, can I help you up the stairs, Grandma? She's like, well, you did as a kid. You better pay attention. You kept having your eyes on the TV, and I banged up my shins. And
can I say it real quick?
Yeah.
They're probably speaking Mandarin Cantonese or Cantonese. I don't know if they're speaking Chinese. I don't know if yeah.
I don't know the specific Chinese language. I know there's multiple of them.
Yeah, official dialect of China is Mandarin.
Mandarin, yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. I apologize.
It's okay. Just because I've made the same mistake before. I just wanted to mention. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, they say, "Are you Chinese?" a couple times. So anyway, so they're noting all the pictures. He's noting all the pictures in her bedroom. So he's like, "Oh, you used to be you and Grandpa used to be really cool." I was like, "Yeah, we had good times." Also, she then mentions like, "You used to be scared of ghosts when you slept here. Hopefully, you outgrew that because your grandpa likes to come back every night and run around downstairs. If you see a ghost, don't say anything to him." Does that ever come to play? You ever see a ghost?
No, we never see a ghost, but we do. There is a lot of like talk of like ancestors, like talking to people during their death.
Got it. Yeah. So he wakes up and sees his grandma actually there. He freaks out because she's praying at the altar, and she asks M like, "Do you think I'm about to die?" He's like, "No, I'm sure you got plenty of life left in you. I'm sure it's fine."
Yeah.
And then it seems like she's actually scared, and she sleeps in the same bed with her grandson. Oh. And she says thank you in probably Mandarin or Cantonese, and he doesn't understand. She's like, "You're a fucking disappointment." Yeah. Then some montage of him helping her around the house and taking her to chemo. She actually takes a little bit of starts slowing down actually, and is like, "Hey, why don't we skip the market? We don't have to sell Kongi this time." He's like, "Why don't I give you a sponge bath?" Starts giving her a sponge bath. She takes off her shirt, and he's like, "Ah!" Ah! He's like, "Stop it! My boobs are there. You can grow up and deal with it." She's like, "I'm old." She's like, "I'm old. I have no shame." Yep. I'm like, "Hell yeah, Grandma." You go for it. And he says, "Give me a second. I'm not used to this." And he's like, is that your nipple?" And she's like, "No, you idiot. That's my mole. You weirdo." It's a funny scene.
This is a pretty good scene.
He installs a camera in case she falls or anything,
so that you can see more.
Oh, no, God. My next SpongeBob, Grandma. But he moves the goddess statue. She just mad. She's like, "Put it back and apologize." Like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Uncle installs guardrails in the bathroom, and they're like kind of mid. Like one of them's kind of shaky.
Oh,
like not
very well installed. Which uncle? Bad
Fun
uncle?
Uncle.
Fun Uncle, got it.
Bad Uncle. Wow, you already got some preconnotations about him.
I don't like that guy.
Yeah, he's got some.
Honestly, both uncles kind of suck.
Both uncles suck.
Yeah,
they're just different ways, which is interesting because they're two polar opposites of ways you could suck.
Each other. Yeah.
He's like, "I'm gonna take your pomegranate," because she has pomegranates that she wraps in like plastic.
Do you know why?
No, not yet. I'm excited to know why. And she's like, "It's not for you." He's like, "I'm gonna take it. It's not for you."
Who is it? The uncle's trying to take it?
Yeah, uncle's trying to take it.
That's right. It's not for the uncle.
It's not for the uncle.
No.
And then he's like, "Hey, Grandpa gave you a lot of money. You got any money I can get? Like anything like that?" She's like, "No, get out of here." And he leaves. And Grandma, like, he's driving off in his little moped. And Grandma remarks, like, "It's best when he's not here." And M's like, "Why?" He says, "Because it means he's okay when he doesn't come around." And I'm like, "Ooh,
that is some real shit,
that's
though.
That's a fucking bar, dude.
That's
real shit, dude."
Yeah.
Ugh. So Mui's talking to M about all this stuff, kind of just like how to get money. He's like, "Yeah, it's always grandkids versus adult kids."
Yep.
Yeah. He's like, "Yeah, my two uncles are the favorite, but one is too serious, the other one's too goofy. And my mom, I think, is second. But I think I might have passed my mom in terms of favoritism. I don't know." And he's like, "How did you know that when you became the favorite?" Mui's like, "Oh, I know I secured my spot as number one when he sang my praises to the rest of the clan. I knew that's when I was number one."
Right.
So Grandma actually goes to Serious Uncle's house. She actually visits. He says, like, "I'm sorry, I've never had time to have you visit here." And I'm like,
he never visits.
And this is like, his house is suburbs, like classic American like looking suburbs, like
middle class ass,
white picket fences, 2 stories,
right?
Standard, like when you think of suburbs, is that he lives in that. And he's like, "Hey, you should sell the place. You can come live here." And they have like actually like already like kind of like a bed for her and everything in the living room. And she's just like, "I just want to sell Kongi." He's like, "No, there's lots of senior activities here." And M realizes that he's gonna lose her. Like he's gonna if Grandma moves in with Uncle, he's never gonna be number one.
Right.
And he's like, "Well, listen, the trips to chemotherapy are longer. Like you're gonna have to get up at like 2 a.m. to do this to make it work." And she's like,
"Oh, so he's trying to talk her out of moving in."
He's trying to talk to like even the uncle. Like, "You can't do this." And then the uncle actually pulls him aside and is like, "Hey, I want to thank you for like helping all the stuff you've done with like Grandma. It's been really helpful. Here's some money for that."
Does he take it?
He does not take it.
Ooh.
He says, "No, it's okay. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm just doing it because I really like my grandma." He's like, "Okay, I don't want to burden my nephew."
Oh man, I hate this shit.
It's so because it's real. Yeah, right.
It's very real. Like I don't know. Have you? I mean, you don't have to go into it, but I've been in situations like this before.
Not to this extent. No, not at all.
It's fucking.
But
awful.
I could see it happening.
It sucks when you see like people dying, and then you see people taking advantage of it, or even like afterwards, well, they'll just like fucking swoop in like vultures.
Yeah,
it's fucking disgusting.
It's a rough thing that like people have to experience once in a while in life. I imagine as people die, but like,
it's just horrid. It's really horrid to see people doing that. Yeah. But it's like, I don't know. I think that's what the movie's also doing, where it's like, I don't know. I think also M is like, well, I want to make some money. Like, you know, like I want to be able to like make a living.
Yeah.
You know? But it's like, oh man.
He doesn't want an easy way though. He's looking for an easy way out on almost everything. And
but this is not easy.
But I think this thing is like, he started off thinking it would be easy, right? Like he was getting the cheap fish. He was just kind of like half-assing it. Now he's like, okay, I'll do everything by the book. Right. He's kind of like learning that, like, okay, I'll actually.
But he's also gambling because he could have taken his uncle's money and he didn't.
It's true. Yeah. He didn't. You're right. Yeah. So he's like, hey, listen, I'll take care of you, Grandma. Like it'll be fine. The uncle says that, and she gives him a pat on the side. They go on a train. They're going somewhere. It seems like they're going to a temple. Mm-hmm. They make some donations, and they make some donations about like, oh, your condition will improve, and you know, hopefully for that. And Grandma's climbing the stairs to the temple steps, and she can't decide like what she's gonna do with like, is she gonna move in or not?
Right.
And she has a story where she's taking off her sandals because they removed their sandals going to the temple.
Yes.
She's like, hey, when your uncle was a kid, like I offered prayers.
Yes.
We offered prayers. And he got his shoes taken, and so I gave him his shoes on a hot day like this one, so he didn't have to walk around with bare feet. And M's like, oh, so you bought these shoes as like a way to make, like he bought you these shoes as a way to make up for it. And she's like, yeah, kind of. So that's kind of why she wears these shoes that do not fit.
Right.
And anyway, they put down a list of wishes for the goddess, and put down a wish of, and she wishes for her health. She wishes for money for her kids. And for her grandson to have a good job eventually. And she puts that all down because he's writing it all. And he goes and delivers it and puts it in the on the place where it's supposed to go.
Right.
And you can read all the other wishes, and he reads all the other wishes from the uncle and the family, and none of them wish for Grandma's health. Not a single person. He brings that up. He's like, none of them wish for you. And she's like, oh, it's okay. He's got to worry about his own family. And he's at this point, M's actually feeling like genuinely like
hurt.
Like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah.
But you are family. He comes back and says that, and even Grandma's like, I guess you're right.
Can I say really quick too? The actor that plays M, really good.
He's really good.
He's really good.
His facial expressions are like top tier.
Because it's like I mean, I don't really see him when he's like in this status where right before he actually starts to make the decision that he's gonna come to his grandma's defense. But like he is like, there is a moment later on in the movie where he ends up sort of like backsliding and getting back into like gaming and shit. And I don't know, it's like you can see him like want to, this is purely the actor's choice, is like you can see him understand that it is much easier to be a slacker than it is to care.
Yeah.
And like you understand like deep down, I don't know, something this actor's doing. You understand deep down he's a good person that genuinely wants to be there for his grandma, but he understands that it's just more, it's easier to not do that. Yeah, exactly.
Just showing effort is a lot of, you know.
He's so good. Him and apparently the grandma, she's like a non-actor. She was like a 70-year-old old lady that just wanted to get an acting late in life.
Really?
Yeah, she's like one of her first big roles.
Crazy. Yeah. She's really good.
Both of them are incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's really good in this movie, but those two are really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so they're on the train back, and she says, "You know what? I'm gonna move in. I'm gonna move in with the uncle's place."
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, they're walking back home, and Em is like kind of upset. And she's like, "Hey, before you go home, I want to buy some new shoes. These hurt my feet too much."
Yes.
And then they go to the store. And the stores, so far, I'm like, oh, Thailand's a lot different than like what we're used to. And then, nope, this store looks like fucking Walmart.
Exactly the same, yeah.
It's exactly like what we're used to.
I see the shoe store in my half of the movie where she's trying on the shoes. And yeah, I'm like, oh, this is like a Kohl's.
Yep, it's a Kohl's. It's a Kohl's, Walmart, whatever.
Like they have the mirrors at the bottom of the chairs.
The bottom of the chairs and everything. I'm like, there you go.
And so he's got all these shoes, and it's funny because she keeps trying on shoes that are like sizes too small, and or like different like sizes that don't fit her. And I was just like, why is she accepting a size that's too small? And it's because of And then she seems suspicious that he's trying to butter her up. I think she starts to like mention, she's like, "You're just trying to like get in my good graces, aren't you?" And he sort of just like laughs it off. Like he doesn't even like answer to that like accusation. We get a really, oh my God. Like at first I was just, cause like, man, I truly have to like state, we have gone for such a long time watching bad movies. And I kind of forgotten what a good movie.
Well, also we're into Christmas season, right? So we're watching like Hallmark shit. We're watching, like look,
surface level shit.
There's a couple good Christmas movies, but even the good Christmas movies are not like masterpieces.
Yes, yes. And so this scene, I think it's just because it's sort of the thing of like if you've been eating like fast food for too long and then you actually eat like real good food and you're like
a salad and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God. So this scene was incredible. So Grandma's sitting in a chair and M is sitting next to her and he's on his phone. And she's sort of just playing with her hair and she starts pulling out her hair. And she's sort of like pulling it out and looking at it and like letting it go on the chair and then pulling out more and realizing that it's not stopping. She just keeps pulling her hair out. And then M sees this and M realizes she's feeling bad about herself.
Yeah.
And so he takes his phone that he's been on the whole time, like not really paying attention to her, and he pulls up his camera and he puts a filter on and it makes her look younger and all sparkly.
Oh.
And she sees it and he goes, I know you don't really feel good about yourself right now, but this is, look at how good you look on the camera. And she's like, grandson, what are you doing? And he's just like, look at this, look at you. This is what you look like. And so she sees herself and she looks like young and beautiful. And then he presses another button and it makes her look bald.
Oh no.
And then he's like, this is how you're going to look in a couple of weeks. And she starts laughing.
Oh, that's funny.
And it's like, he's immediately sort of like allowed her to like let go of that like part of herself. And then he's like, I think you probably need to rest. And she's like, yeah, I think you're right. And she starts to like fall asleep, like nod off. And he takes all of the hair that she's taken off and just starts collecting it so that she's not waking up in like a pool of her like hair that's falling out.
Oh, like permanently? Like she keeps doing
because she's going through chemo.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't want her to wake up with like all of the hair that she's pulled out, feeling bad for herself. And so he's tending to her even when she's asleep, which is a character choice. It's a choice that like he's willing to take care of her even when she's not aware that he's taking care of her, right? Which is a good choice.
Yeah.
It's a good growth of character. There is this gorgeous shot of a rainbow cutting through a train that he's taking in order to get to her. Amazing shot.
I'm like train visuals in this.
Amazing. And hard cut, bald, full on bald now. She's completely bald now. And she's like, he's talking to her and she sort of mentions offhand, she's like, I kind of, because he's like, why do you do this? Like, why are you doing all this? Like, you're putting all this effort into your work. And she's like putting like food together. And she's like, I kind of want you to take this on. I think you might be really good, like working the job that I'm doing.
Like the Kongi?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's like, I want my customers to be your customers. Oh. And he's just like,
I've been seeing, he's been helping out. He's at the shop.
And he's like taking initiative and like actually learning how to make this food. Cause he also has to make it for her. And, and so he's just like, I don't know if I really like want that like in my life. Like, I'm not sure if that's like the thing I really want to do.
My destiny or whatever.
Right. And so then they play cards. They're playing cards together. They're talking as they're playing cards. And he's like, do you ever miss your husband? Do you ever miss your husband at all? And she says, people dying, that's a part of life. She's like, although, she's like, being alone, that's a natural thing. Your grandpa's going to die. I'm going to die. That's just the way things go. I can't be upset about that. That's just the way that things are going to go. And there's this sort of like long silence. And then she's like, but I will say that I have trouble after Chinese New Year because there's all these leftovers and I have to eat them alone. And I remember eating them with your grandpa. And I miss having someone next to me when I'm eating. And she says this to a person that's there for her right now, like playing cards with her.
And who could probably eat them leftovers.
Oh, he'll fucking pack them away.
M's a little skinny guy. I bet he digests that
He'll stream that stuff as a mukbang.
Yeah.
And then he ends up winning the card game, and it's this really sweet moment where she's just like, I'll play you again. I'm gonna make that money back. And it's this good moment where the two of them are like, it's that thing that you said that was it Mui said, where she's just like, they just want to forget. They don't want to think about how they're dying.
They don't want to think about time. They don't want to think about going. They just want to hang out.
It's this moment where there's like a genuine like sense of competitiveness between the two of them, and she's sort of forgotten the fact that she's like slowly dying, basically. And there's this great moment where she's like looking across at him, and he, at first they're like being competitive, and then she like puts her hands on his arm, and she says, "It is a blessing to have you here." She says to him, and it's a really great, like, beautiful moment.
She's falling for it.
She is, but
also, that's what's interesting about this movie is it really is like, does it really matter though?
It's like, all kind of working out.
Like, if you get whatever, you get paid or whatever in the end. I don't know if he does. Like, I have no idea, but it doesn't matter because either way, it's like she's getting what she wants.
This kind of it reminds me. This is very like. It's minimizing, I think, the impact of this movie is trying to accomplish. But it reminds me a lot of like, teen romance movies, where it's like, oh, I was dared to take you out because you were a nerd, but actually I discovered that you're actually a beautiful person.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
That's what this is kind of doing.
That is what it feels like. But this is so much.
It's much more human and grounded.
Yeah, it's much more grounded and very subtle, and I don't know.
But it's the same kind of like lesson in the end, where it's like, I was forced to do this, but now I realize I should have been doing this from the beginning.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's another day. No one is coming to get food from her. So she's just like, even though she's already made it and he's already made it. So she's just like, can you just put it away so the bugs don't get to it? And he's like, yeah, I'm on it. Don't worry about it. So he's like, he puts all the food away.
He was really bad at making this stuff at the beginning, by the way.
But now he's really good at it. He's learned. So he started to put the money away, he's putting the food away, and then she goes in and looks at, I guess there's a little tin in the kitchen where they keep like, I don't know, it's like a secret stash of money that she has, basically. Okay. She opens it up and it's empty.
Oh, shit.
And she's like, did you steal my money? And he goes, no, I didn't touch your money. I've been here all day.
He did put, I remember he saw her put money in there at one point.
So she assumes that he took it, and he's like, no, I didn't take it. So they end up looking at the security cameras that he put up, and they see that his fun uncle took the money. His fun uncle broke in, took the money and some of the food.
Oof.
So he's like, I'm gonna go confront him. I'm gonna go take care of this. I didn't know who this guy was. I didn't know he was the uncle.
Some random guy.
I just thought some dude broke in and that he knew who the dude was.
Yeah.
I also didn't know he was his uncle. I thought he was like kind of like an older.
That's her own son.
Yes.
Stealing that shit.
Yes. So he goes to talk to the fun uncle about it, and he's like, I need $1 million bond or whatever. I think the money is. I think it's bond. He's like, I need it because I need to pay some money back to these guys that I know. And I'm in trouble. I have to pay them back, and he's like, I don't have it. Like, she didn't even have that money. I just stole what I could, but I don't have the money, and I can't pay them back. So I need it, and I'm in trouble. They're gonna like hunt me down. They're gonna like hurt me if I don't give it to them.
Yikes!
And so he has to leave town. And so M is like, this is gonna break her heart. I'm not gonna tell her about any of this. I'm just gonna say that I couldn't find you.
How does it split? How do you know he does? How do you know he's not going to tell her?
Well, I'll tell you about that.
Okay.
In a second.
Okay.
In a fucking second.
All right, I'm sorry. I just want to know.
But before his uncle goes, M gives him something so that he can maybe pawn it and get some money to live for a couple of weeks while he's left and try to escape like trouble, basically.
Okay.
And the valuable thing he gives him is the silver belt.
Silver belt. Okay.
He gives him the silver belt.
How did he get it? Because his mom took it.
Well,
I guess he must have got it back.
Probably it's probably his mom lives with him. He probably found it in the house.
No, he lives with his grandma now.
Well, he doesn't live with his grandma. He visits his grandma.
He does? I thought he lived with his grandma.
No, I think he takes a train to get into.
Oh, maybe.
I saw a scene where he takes the train to get into his grandma.
Maybe
and
he lives
with
his mom on the weekends.
I think so. Maybe that's what he does. So he goes back to his own house, takes the belt, and gives it to his uncle.
Very logistic heavy that we don't need to get into.
Yeah, the movie didn't think we needed to get into
No, I didn't need to.
And so his uncle like hugs him. And his uncle says straight up, he's just like, you deserve better, M. You don't deserve to be doing this. Like, you don't need to be doing this. But then he just gets on his fucking moped and drives out.
I was like, better than you, bro?
Yeah. So M goes back to his grandma and he lies. He's like, yeah, he wasn't at his apartment and his motorcycle was gone and I don't know where he went. And I talked to his neighbors. They said that he left. So he doesn't tell his grandma about any of that stuff that happened, basically. And so then a man arrives at grandma's place and they immediately think that it's the guy that's looking for his uncle.
Yeah.
And so he's like all nervous, and his grandma's like, I'm an old lady. I'm going to go answer the phone, or I'm going to go answer the door because no one's going to hurt me. So she goes over to the door, and she's like, hello, who are you looking for? And he's like, hi. And she's like, are you looking for this guy, my son or whatever? And he goes, no, I'm actually interested in buying this place. And she goes, what? And he goes, yeah, apparently this place is on sale online. And she goes, what? And he goes, yeah, I've actually been trying to contact the guy that posted this. His name is M. He put this place up on sale, and I've been trying to contact him, and he hasn't gotten back to me. So apparently M has put his grandma's house up on sale prematurely, trying to sell it because he thinks he's going to get the deed no matter what.
Oh, that's fucked up.
And his grandma now is aware of what he's attempting to do.
Why would you fucking do that?
Because M's not the smartest
cookie. No,
yeah, he's not the smartest tool in the shed.
He really isn't.
Yeah.
His name's M.
He was looking kind of dumb with his finger and his thumb, yeah.
The shape of an L.
on his forehead. So the grandma says that grandma goes back and he's like, it wasn't the guy. It was just some random person. Don't worry about it. I got rid of him. And then she says, I think my next chemo treatment is going to be my last chemo treatment. And then he says, after that, you won't have to be around anymore. He says to M. And she says, ever since you were in elementary school, people saw potential in you. And she's like, all you have to do is try, you just have to apply yourself. You're kind of a slacker.
Okay, Walter White.
A little bit. Yeah, I just kind of feel like Walter White. But he calls himself a slacker, and he's like, I can't compete. Everything out there is so difficult. I can't compete. And it's kind of like it's heartbreaking to hear someone talk about themselves like that.
Yeah.
But everyone does that, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I do that.
I think it's probably why it's heartbreaking, because you're like, I've seen that.
Yeah, we've all done that. But it's hard to see a character do that. All I've ever seen is this guy help his grandma. And so it's hard
he's only been doing good things.
In my half of the movie.
It's like, oh man, why can't he do good things? He learns,
So, but you can tell his grandma's just like, you can do amazing things. You just don't believe that you can. And then she's like, you remember years and years ago, we used to hang out all the time when you were a little kid. And you remember when I planted this pomegranate tree out here? And he goes, not really. And she's like, I planted this pomegranate tree to represent you. And I remember you came over one day and you said that whatever fruits from the pomegranate trees should be yours, and you will eat them, and they should all be yours. And so she goes and she cuts one of the pomegranates off, which has a bag around it because it's being preserved for M. And this shot was fucking incredible. It's like you see M, and it's the doors are like not all the way open, the gate, and so you just see M's face through the bars of the doors looking at the pomegranates, and the grandma pulls the pomegranate down and cuts it, and it's like, I'm just looking at this and going, like, the director had to tell the actor to sit in a very specific place and not move his head a fucking inch, because if he did, he wouldn't be in the gate, like the perfect little like window of the gate. And she has to cut the pomegranate. I'm just like, this sounds like a fucking headache, but they did it, and it was an amazing shot. And so she brings the pomegranate back to M, and M eats it, and he really enjoys it. And she sort of tells him about a memory he doesn't remember of him being a little kid and wanting to eat the pomegranates that's fruited from the tree. And so she's like, no one has ever eaten anything that's fruited from the tree. This is all yours. I've only ever had it for you. That's why I've preserved it. I put them in all bags. Damn. This is all for you. No one's ever eaten anything from this.
The pomegranate tree just producing all that fruit.
And he doesn't remember it. He doesn't even remember asking to do this. And then she says, I am so sorry for calling you lazy. That's
so good, because like there are so many things as when you're younger.
Yeah.
You just say shit, right?
Yeah.
You just say stuff, and like, you know how you say something where it's like, I like puppies. And then the grandma's like, I'm gonna get you puppies every year from now on. You're always gonna get like a puppy memorabilia every year for Christmas, because like you said, I like puppies. And after a while, you're like, why is grandma always giving me puppy stuff?
Because of that one
time I remember that. And this is that, but like way more intense, because it's a fucking
tree that's been growing.
A tree that
earlier
takes time.
On, the uncle wanted to take something from it, and she said, no, that's not yours.
Yeah. And it's just like, no, that's for one person who asked for it. Like,
that doesn't even remember asking for it. Yeah. So she introduces M to her brother, who is rich. He lives in a mansion, and he got all of the money from their parents when they passed away years ago. And so M's in there, and like they've got a big fucking like buffet of food inside, and it's like full of family. And we see grandma and her brother, and they're fucking singing karaoke and shit.
Nice.
And then she goes up to her brother, and she goes, brother, I haven't asked you for anything in the years that our parents passed away prematurely, like back when we were children, like back when we were young. They gave you everything. They gave me nothing. And I was there when they were dying. I took care of them, and I didn't get a cent. I didn't get anything.
Wow.
And you didn't give me anything, and I've never asked for anything. I am dying, and I just want enough so that I can buy a nice burial for myself. I just want $1 million bond, and you can give me that. I know you have that money. I just want that so that I can be buried properly, and so that there might be some kind of prosperity for my future, for my children, basically. Mm-hmm. And her brother, after fucking singing karaoke to his sister, is like, fuck you, get out of my house.
Really?
Never speak to me again. I will never give you a cent. And he says, if you want money so bad, talk to your children.
Oh, I thought you'd be chill.
No, he's a fucking asshole. But honestly, this is the kind of shit you fucking see too. I don't know. This movie hit really fucking hard to me.
It really seems to.
Because I've seen this shit. I've seen this fucking shit where it's like you see this kind of shit where it's just like you're just asking for like a bare minimum amount of money to get out of a problem.
Absolutely.
And you see people who this motherfucker never had to work for it. His fucking parents gave it to him. Like his dying parents gave it to him rather than the daughter, even though the daughter was there taking care of her. Gave it to their fucking son. And he's acting as if he earned it, as if he did anything to gain this, you know? I don't know. It was fucking hard to watch. And he's just like,
I totally get that. Like, there are definitely people out there who are rich and are just like, I'm not gonna give this money. And it's like, bro, I'm not asking for a lot. I'm not asking for much that's really gonna bother.
And he's old too. Like, what is he gonna fucking do with it?
He's gonna die at some point anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's like he's got all this shit. He's got all these assets. He lives in a fucking mansion. Yeah. He can't give her enough money to fucking be buried the way that she wants, even though she's never gotten anything from him. Yeah. It was fucking painful. And you can see M, because M didn't expect this. M didn't know that's why. He thought he was just like meeting a part of her family. Mm-hmm. And then you can see like the shock on his face when she asks, and especially the shock on his face when he says no. Oh. And so then they have to take the train back to her place, back to her house. And she explains, at the train station, she's just like, if you buy a big plot, it will bring prosperity to your children. And Em says that's not true. And she says, once I'm buried, and if you ever carelessly drop, petals on my grave, I will haunt you. Which is some real shit.
That's really funny.
Next day, they bring Grandma to the doctor's, another doctor's visit. Grandma's in the lobby. Em and his mom are talking to the doctor. And M goes to the grandma and he says, it's all good. Everything's good.
Doubt.
He says,
you're
cured. No more chemo treatments. You never have to do another chemo again. And we cut back to the doctor's office and the doctor's like, no improvement. She's going to die.
Oh, no.
And the mom is fucking sobbing. And Em is just sitting there and she's just like, what about all of the treatment? What about all the money we spent?
Stuff we've worked on.
We've been taking her here like nothing. And he goes, nothing. He's like, maybe a couple of months. It's not gonna, he's like, it's never gonna, there's no improvement. It's not gotten better at all. And he's just like, just don't tell her. And like, just, don't tell her for the next couple of months. Like, just.
I can see Awkwafina was mad. In the farewell, I'm just saying.
Yeah. And so they go out and they tell Grandma about all this. But, M's mom is just sobbing. She's just crying next to it. So like, terrible poker face.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. And so Grandma's like, tell me the truth. What's going on? And then she looks over at her daughter and she says, I think something in like Mandarin or something like that M can't understand, that M can't make sense of. And her daughter starts fucking sobbing. And Em's like, what did she tell you? What did she ask? What did she say? And his mom says, the rice grains have become cooked rice, which means we must accept what cannot be changed. Mm. It's an old saying, and basically,
sounds like an old saying.
Basically, Grandma's saying like, something has happened and we can't change it. And we have to just accept the way things are, basically.
Oof, yikes.
So we cut to Grandma, and she's and Emma's staying the night with her, and Grandma is in her bed, and she is sobbing and crying in anguish in her sleep, and she's crying to her dead family members to take her away.
How are we gonna make millions off of this?
And she's just like, I want to die, and she's asking her like ancestors to help her to bring her to the afterlife, and Em just gets in bed with her to like bring her some kind of comfort. It's so fucking sad.
This is like when we watched Speak No Evil, and I watched the second half of the The European one.
I did. I was watching this. If I have the movie, I'm like, I did Ethan a fucking favor.
You're that meme of the soldier taking the fucking knives, and I'm sitting there sleeping.
And you got to see all the fun bits.
Fun.
Yeah.
I like the part
you got
of the
to see
goofy
fucking
uncle.
Dead by Daylight shit.
Yeah.
And I've seen Grandma just fucking like getting like balder and balder and fucking dying and turning into a skeleton.
Grandma just making conky. She's having a great time.
Yeah. So her mom is in so much fucking pain. They bring her back to the hospital, because she's just in so much pain. And so the mom is there and both uncles are there now. And, Grandma has to be there to be like overseen essentially. And shitty uncle, Glasses uncle. Glasses uncle and fun uncle. Is that how we're going to respond? Like,
sure. I said unfun uncle and fun uncle.
Unfun uncle talks to his sister, M's mom, and is like, do we know where the deed to the house is? Because he's like, we need to be able to sell that place. And M's mom is like, that is so much to be talking about right now. She's not even dead yet. But unfun uncle is like, what if she dies and we can't find it?
Yeah,
which is a very real
that's the thing is like he's not wrong.
Yeah,
it's a rough thing to talk about, and like end of life care and end of life like preparation, is
painful.
Is painful. It's tough, man. All right, too real on the podcast. My mom sent me the text message the other day and was like, "Hey man, hey son, did you get those notes from the funeral guy?" And I'm like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm fine, but I just want to get this all in order." And honestly, thankful for that. Like she's got all that shit all together. She's like, here's how the burial I want. Here's the cremation stuff I'm doing, all that good stuff. And I'm like, thanks. That's very nice of you. Also crazy though.
Yeah.
Are you okay? She's fine.
I remember when I was, I don't know, I was really young. I'm not really young, but I was like in elementary school or middle school, and my parents had written out a full-on will and testament because they didn't want they wanted to make sure I was if they were to die, that I was given to a part of the family that they wanted me to be with, basically. Because ultimately they would have to go. I would have to go to like their brothers or sisters, and they didn't really necessarily want that. They wanted me to go to like another part of the family if I were to be taken care of.
I mean,
but I remember at a young age them having to like make that kind of decision.
It's rough to think about, but also it's just like
it's much better.
It's just in case. You know, it's like when you pull out life insurance when you're like, you're going through your W-2s and all those like elections at work, and it's like life insurance is like, I mean, do I need it? I don't need it. 5 people are relying on me.
Yeah. So yeah, this part is pretty like awkward, but ultimately I kind of fall on the side of like unfun uncle, where it's like we do want to make sure we have everything in order. So if the worst comes to worst, we want to make sure that we aren't like digging around her house, trying to find this stuff.
Totally.
So unfun uncle ends up leaving. Fun uncle is there, but he's fucking like sleeping on a chair and smoking, drinking, and shit.
He's always drunk, is also a thing that happens. Yeah.
Yes, and so unfun uncle leaves, and then fun uncle's still there, and once fun uncle leaves, M's mom pulls out the deed to the house, and she's had it this whole time. Who does she give it to?
Grandma. M. I don't know who's left. Everyone's gone.
No. There's one person left.
I don't remember.
Fun uncle.
I thought Fun Uncle left.
No, unfun uncle left.
She gave it to Fun Uncle?
Fun uncle, it gets the deed to the house, not M.
Why? Why wouldn't mom just keep it?
Because mom gave it because grandma wanted to give it to fun uncle.
Oh, okay.
Grandma has made her decision, and in her deed, in her last will and testament, she gave it to fun uncle, slacker uncle, drunk uncle, the uncle that came in.
She's not dead yet, right?
No, but she's dying, and she says it's his. I don't want it. Don't give it to M. She says, do not give it to M.
Okay.
And M is fucking hurt because of all the shit that he's had to go through to protect her, and the fact that like
he broke in and like stole her money and shit like that. Yeah.
Yes, and she knows that, but she ends up giving it to him anyway. And honestly, real shit. That's some real shit right there.
Ugh, give it to the problem family.
Yeah,
problem child.
And
you know he's just gonna waste it.
Exactly though, right? Exactly. And so she ends up giving it to him, and M is fucking devastated. And so there's this moment. And Junko was like, "Oh, fucking awesome! I got this shit! Hooray! I can't wait!" And he like runs off with the fucking deed. Doesn't even say goodbye to Grandma. And Grandma needs to be loaded into a taxi to bring her back home. And M is the one that's wheeling her over to the taxi drop off. And M is like, "Why are you doing this?" He's like, "This is exactly what your parents did to your brother. They gave the money away to your brother rather than someone who deserved it. And then grandma's like, hey, I gave the house to your uncle. You don't have to take care of me anymore if you don't want to. Yeah, basically sort of forcing him to have to...
Or being like, hey, man, put your money where your mouth is. Like, do you actually care about me?
Yeah, do you really care about me? Because now you don't get anything from me.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he does the thing that you mentioned before. He's like, why am I not being rewarded for my hard work? I stepped up. I showed up every day. I did everything you wanted me to do. I was there for you. Why not me? Why is it not me? And she doesn't say anything. And so then he just leaves her all alone, waiting for the taxis to arrive. Oh. And he's crying and she cries. Oh. She looks back at him. She cries once he's gone. And it's just like, you can tell that she's hurt, but it's like, it's rough. And there's this beautiful shot of a rainbow at night. And it looks just like his mom's work uniform, because his mom, like, I think works at like a place that has like a rainbow looking thing. Gorgeous shot. And M has immediately backslid. He's back to playing video games. He isn't sleeping. His mom is bringing in groceries. He's not helping her whatsoever. And she asks if he can clean. And she comes home with all the groceries, and she's like, "Can you? All right, your uncle's taking care of the house. He's gonna take it over. Can you go help empty out grandma's house? Because
is she dead?
No, but she's dying.
Oh, okay. And you got to empty already? Damn. All right.
Well, he's moving her into a home.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And so she's like, can you go in and empty your house out? And Emma's like, it's all a bunch of garbage. Who cares? Just like have a bunch of people throw everything away because he's hurt. You know, he's very upset about it. And his mom is like, oh, it's a good thing we didn't get our house. Clearly, we wouldn't have appreciated it. And Emma's like, how can you say that? You changed your schedule so you could spend time with her. Like, and she's like, yeah, I did it because I wanted to spend time with her, not because I wanted her money. I did it because I cared about her. And Em is like completely unaware of the fact that like he thought his mom was on the same wavelength that he was.
Yeah.
And she wasn't. She was like, I just wanted to be there in her last like days or last months or last year. I just wanted to be there for her, basically. She's completely like not subservient, but just like completely like I want to be there for her and support her.
She's supposed to be a good person. Just be there with her mom the last time.
So M helps Mui. Is that her name again? Yep. Helps Mui, because she's starting to move into her grandpa's place basically, and they sort of like talk about it. And Mui, I think, is now helping out her grandma now. Mm-hmm. And Mui's like, hey, if you ever want, I know you helped out your grandma. If you ever want, you can help out my grandma. And when she passes away, you can get a share of that. Because I know that you
love hanging out with helping grandmas.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, I'm really sorry that your grandma didn't give you the money. I don't understand why that didn't happen. And he's like, look, man, like what happened? Like, he doesn't even understand what basically like went down. Uh-huh. And so he's like, did you even care about your like grandpa? Like, what do you feel about your grandpa, basically? Like him passing away. And she says, I'll tell you this. In his last days, he, I fed him a lot. And on his last day, he was choking. And I made a decision not to help him. I saw him choking, and I didn't save him. I made a decision to not save him. Oh. Now, you're taking that as to say, like, she basically murdered her grandpa, basically, right?
I mean, kinda.
She says, and I'll tell you why. Because in his last days, he was crying every single night, begging to die.
Oh, okay. Well, then
which is different. That I think sums her up perfectly.
Yeah.
Like she's definitely seen some shit like in her day-to-day.
She's seen the shit.
Yes.
No one else has seen that shit.
She's a nurse. She's seen people die.
No one else is there to hear. Well, also no one else is there to hear him cry every night.
Yeah, exactly.
Like no one else knows exactly what he's going through because he's basically alone besides that. They show up for 15 minutes. They say hello. They leave. They don't know the true shit.
Because I was the same way. I was like, Jesus Christ, Mui's a fucking like Patrick Bateman. Yeah. But then she's like, no, I didn't want to be the one to kill him, but he was dying and he wanted to die. So why would I save him so that he suffered a couple more days?
Yeah.
Totally. So she's like, yeah, I let him die. And then he's like, have you seen him like ever since then? And she's like, I haven't dreamed of him. And I hope I never do, because if I ever see him in a dream, that means that he's not enjoying the afterlife.
Oh. Whoa. Boy, oh boy.
She's like, I hope because I never see him. She's like, I haven't seen him yet, and I hope that means that he's enjoying himself, with his like ancestors. And it's like, that is some good shit right there. And she starts crying.
That's
and
also
starts
so good because
crying.
it just means like she has no guilt, Because if you have guilt about something, you're gonna dream about it probably.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Yeah, stay up late about it.
Like, I don't have any guilt.
No,
about
she's
it,
like, I did the right thing. He wanted to die, and I let him die. It's the same thing as like those people that like, here's the morphine, and I'm just gonna leave your bedside.
I'm just gonna let you go. If you want to put
do
it
whatever
on
you
there,
want,
go for it, buddy.
So we cut back to M, and he's watching security footage of Grandma's house, and he sees Grandma sitting outside. And then he fast forwards a couple hours, and he sees her house empty and just moving boxes. Yeah. Yep.
Lord have mercy.
Yep. So, fun uncle has put grandma.
We need fun uncle right now. Let me tell you.
Fun uncle put grandma into a nursing home rather than have her live in her house. That's why it's all boxed up. And he's like, hey, so he's invited his sister and Em over, and he's like, check out grandma, like say hi to her. I'm sure you'll bring a lot of joy to her because she's been in bed so often. She's not getting out of bed. She must be very unhappy in this fucking nursing home that she didn't want to be in. And then Fun Uncle goes to Em and he's like, hey, I know you were there for grandma. Here's a bunch of, I sold the house. I made all this money. Here's some extra money. If you want it, you looked after grandma all this time, and M doesn't take it.
I love that both uncles at this point have given him some money or tried to.
I think it's a thing you realize where it's like both uncles are ashamed. Yeah. They are ashamed of how they've treated their mom, and they think that money, I think, can resolve
absolutely.
it, and it can't because M doesn't take it. And then M says this great line. He says, "No one will rescue you now that she's gone." And then he just goes to grandma and checks in on her, and then he like unbuttons her bottom buttons. I don't know if that's something.
Okay, so there was a moment earlier where he was trying to button her bottom button. She's like, no, I it doesn't feel comfortable. I need the movement.
So he unbuttons them because everyone's buttoning them for her because nobody cares about her. Oof. So he unbuttons her bottom buttons, and then he's like, Grandma, do you want to move in with us? Like, we don't have a lot of room, but maybe you would feel more comfortable living with us rather than in this place. Mm-hmm. And she goes, yeah, let's do it.
Nice.
So even though M's house, which is small,
very small,
even though it's small,
he's streaming in the living room.
They've had to move his streaming setup so that they now have her bed in the living room with them.
The ultimate sacrifice.
I mean, it is a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice that I wouldn't have been able to choose before. So, and then there's this really great moment where Grandma's like going through M's mom's refrigerator, and she's like, you shouldn't be eating this stuff. You might get cancer from all this stuff. I got cancer. You might get it if you eat really poorly. And then M's mom says, yeah, sons inherit all the goods and daughters inherit the genes. Oof. But that's real. Yeah, that's some real shit. And then Grandma says, ever since, whenever M's been taking care of me, he's always been asking me who's my favorite. And I can't say who my favorite is, but she says, I will say that there's no one I'd rather spend time with than you.
Oof.
To her daughter, and Em is watching all this, and he's just like crying in the doorway, and the daughter's like trying not to cry. So unfun uncle shows up with Rainbow and his wife and drops off his wife and his daughter for Chinese New Year, but he refuses to get out of the car. Why? He doesn't want to get out of the car because he's too ashamed. He's too ashamed with how he's treated his mom, and he can't face her. And then M goes over to his uncle and he goes, why Grandma doesn't eat meat anymore? It's because when you were little, you had a problem with your immune system. You were really sick. And so she prayed to the goddess that if she gave up meat forever, something that she truly loved, that it would make your immune system stronger. And then you lived.
She gave them short ribs for that?
Gave up everything for him. And then he rolls the window down and he finally goes in. He finally says hi to Grandma. And this scene... It's like Grandma's in bed. And I haven't seen Grandma. I guess I haven't seen her since like the fridge scene. Grandma's in bed and she looks fucking catatonic. And Rainbow is there painting Grandma's toenails. And unfun uncle comes over and is just talking to her. And I haven't seen her, so I thought she was going to be like smiling or talking. We cut back to Grandma. She's barely conscious. Oof. And it is fucking hard to watch. And so, and so he finally is able to talk to her and say something to her. I wrote down the music is a bit cheesy, to be honest. I'm sorry, movie.
It is. Yeah, it is a bit cheeseball. So that's the dad energy.
It is that dad energy, though, bro. So grandma is slowly passing away, and it's one night. It's all late at night, and because M is sleeping in the living room, he sees grandma, and grandma's like sort of like clearly gonna die. And so M goes over and he starts singing a song to her about something about
lullaby. The point is earlier in the movie when actually grandma comes into lay with when he is scared of the ghost and she first learns about her cancer diagnosis, he does ask like, "Can you sing me a lullaby?" and she passes out. She's not there for it. But so I think that's one of the things where he's like, this is something that helps. And also she mentioned when he was scared of ghosts, she would sing lullabies to him.
So he sings a lullaby to her as she passes away. And he sings about how, what is it? It says, it's a song about how you will be prosperous and how you will have servants wait on you. Which is essentially what he's been doing to her, is being a servant to her. And he starts crying, and she's just like dying. And she like reaches out and grabs his hand, and you see hers like finger, and it slowly starts to like lose like energy. And she's just like staring up. And man, this fucking old lady who's playing the grandma is like,
she's so good at pretending to die.
She's so good. I'm like, is this woman fucking dead?
Is she dead for real? You can like Google it, like she died on set.
And so her hand just like slowly loses energy. Hard cut funeral.
Ooh.
Like coffin, picture of grandma.
She get that dope ass scene though? She get that dope place? What's the deal? No.
She's dead.
It doesn't matter.
There's no money.
No money.
There's no money to put her in a burial.
She's not gonna care.
Yeah. So and then M's mom is like, I've been looking for that silver belt everywhere. Where is it?
Oh no.
So how do you think this movie is gonna end? We're pretty much at the end of the movie.
I mean, I don't know what else is left to do except maybe like the uncle is shitty and sells the house, lives in a good life. It kind of becomes a mirror of like maybe what the grandma's brother is, where he's just kind of a shithole. You know, like he's a nice guy, but as soon as you ask him for money, he was like, "You're grabbing our money." Yeah. I bet it's gonna be that similar thing.
That's a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
So they're at the grandma's funeral, and all of a sudden M gets a call. We don't know who the call is from at first, but he says, "Is this like a scam? She's already dead. Like, what are you trying to talk to me about?" And then he ends up going to back to like where he lives, which has all of grandma's like.
Who's he? M. Okay.
M goes back to his house where all of grandma's like belongings are basically, and finds a bunch of like bank statements in there. And I still don't understand like why he's looking at the bank statements. I don't know who he's on the phone with, but someone on the phone clearly is telling him something kind of important. Mm-hmm. And then he ends up going to the train station that we saw earlier, where they were talking about how grandma wanted to have like a really good funeral and all that stuff, and how she wanted a big burial plot. This is one of the best shots I've seen this year. I want to say top 5 shots. Whoa. He is at the train station, and the camera's following him down like a sidewalk right next to where the train is. Basically, like, you can see the train tracks, and then there's like a bunch of hedges, and then there's the sidewalk that he's walking on. He's walking on the sidewalk. He's on the phone, and he's like, "So wait, you're telling me that there's like a bank account that that she has? That like, how long has it been open? Like, I don't understand what you're telling me." And then he's like walking towards the camera, and then he's at level with the camera. He's like straight on with the camera, but it's like a side view of him. So he's looking straight on, and we're seeing the side of his face as he has the phone, and he gets the answer about the whatever he's talking about, the bank statement, bank account, and then the train comes right behind him. And it's like the minute he gets the information,
it hits him. Oh,
the train. The train doesn't hit him, but it goes by him. It shows
by him, but
and
like it hits him.
Yes,
metaphorically,
the impact and you feel it. You fucking feel what he's hearing on the phone.
That's some good shit.
And then the camera, and then the camera just follows the train. You see him for a second, and then it follows the train.
That's a bold choice.
And it moves. It moves away from him, down where he just was, okay? And we see the train keep going. And down that sidewalk, we see grandma, a young grandma with black hair, walking with young M, a little child M. And M is on like a Game Boy playing games.
Sure, yeah.
And Grandma's walking with M. And Grandma says, I am going to open an account for you, M.
Oh.
Because you got really good grades and you deserve it. And I'm going to be putting some money in for you for the rest of the year. And M is like, can you keep putting money in until you die? And then Grandma's like, what? You're gonna jinx me and you're gonna make me die? And he's like, no, but I don't know, maybe in the future. And then Grandma's like, well, what would you do with the money? And M's like, I would buy you a big house. I'd buy you a big new house. And they're walking towards the camera, and then the camera meets exactly where M was earlier, and M's gone. Because we're still in the flashback. We're getting the understanding that Grandma opened this bank account years and years and years ago for M, never closed it, put in a bunch of money, and just had it saved there and accumulated. Yeah, just like the pomegranates that he had forgotten. He had forgotten about the pomegranates. He had forgotten about the bank account. Yeah. And it's just been sitting there growing. And it's this. This is true, and this has all been one shot. Like, this is such a simple shot. All you had to do, well, it is kind of a simple shot because you had to time it with the train, obviously. But it's like all you need is just one fucking camera setup, a perfectly timed train, and then you needed like the actor in the back with like a black wig. Fucking perfect. Fucking amazing. And it's amazing. And so he's and then it cuts back to M, and he's on the phone. He's like, I want to withdraw all the money and I want to close the account. Mm-hmm. So we cut to M, his mom, and his uncles in the back of a truck with Grandma's coffin. And he keeps knocking on the coffin, and he tells her, like, we're going. And then they're driving, and he's like, we're at this restaurant that you really like. And then they drive by the street, and they're like, we're at the bridge that you really like. Mm-hmm. And then he's just, like, updating Grandma on the coffin about where they are. And he goes, we're here. We're here at the plot that I bought you.
He spent all that money just to get that plot, huh?
Yeah.
Oof.
All that money that his grandma had saved up for her all those years, he used all that money to buy the plot that she wanted. And they get to the plot, and Rainbow's running around, tossing a bunch of like things, and the uncle's there, the cool uncle's there, and he's like trying to like win the lottery,
whatever,
losing money on the lottery, and M's there, and M's there with Rainbow, and he's like, let me teach you how to spread the petals, and he drops all the petals on the ground. Like carelessly, and he starts to like move them, but you can tell he's like, I want Grandma to haunt me. I want Grandma to know that I was there for her.
Man, that's fucking cute.
And that's the end of the movie.
Oh,
isn't that some good shit?
I mean, ooh, it's one of those things where like I didn't expect it, but I do like that's where the movie should go.
It feels so like
it feels right.
It feels yeah, it feels right. It feels
right. Yeah. Like the fact that he got the money, obviously learned that it's not it. It's just more to make your ancestors happy. Even if they, whatever, he doesn't believe that.
Yeah.
There's much in the afterlife. But like, I love the fact that's such a good ending that he's just like, I'm going to fucking pour this shit so she haunts me.
Yeah. It's all been set up.
So
and
good.
What I love too is the thing of like, I love the pomegranate scene because that is such a good reference to the thing of like, you are unaware of how you've actually affected the people in your life.
Yeah, especially as a young kid, you don't know that.
And
I think that's probably the most surprising part. Like I expected, like, oh, old people dying, what's the inheritance and stuff. But I think the thing that this movie really gets at that really surprised me is the fact that like what you say as a grandchild really will affect whatever happens to the grandparent. And it is I was joking earlier about like, oh, you love puppies, everything's gonna be puppies from now on. It's like, yeah, but that extends a little bit different too, right?
Definitely.
Like if your grandparents like, oh, I opened up an account for you, and here's I put a couple bonds in there, and now they matured, and it's just like, oh, I didn't know that, I didn't know you did that, you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
And it was like, quote unquote, nothing for them, but it was something that really grew into something, and I think that's also, I guess, also the way the movie also shows that how someone plants, quote unquote, children, right? And not all of them grew up to how they wanted to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you plant a literal tree or you plant something that's more consistent, then they do grow up to something that you can actually give and pass on to someone you actually do care about,
Yeah.
And I think there's something very interesting about the way that movie plays with that sort of thematic elements,
There's that old quote. I don't know what it is. I don't know who said it, but it's the thing of like, wise men plant trees for the shade that they will never be under.
They'll never be under. Yeah, they'll never enjoy, right?
They'll never enjoy. That's the idea, is that people want to plant things for other people to take advantage of. And that's essentially what Grandma did here with the pomegranates, with the money that she put in M's account. But what I really find beautiful is that M finds it, and the first instinct is like, I'm gonna make sure that Grandma gets what she wants, even though she's not around anymore, even though she's probably, she's dead. It's like, I want to make sure that I do right by her, right?
Which is absolutely 100% not what earlier M would have done.
No, absolutely
earlier
not.
M would have been like, whatever, it doesn't fucking matter.
Oh, money, awesome.
Yeah,
that would have come to him either way.
Yeah,
that would have wound up in his lap either way. Who knows also how much money's actually in that?
Yeah, I mean, he might have extra left over too. Who knows?
But the fact that he actually was there for her and like
spent the money,
her.
Spent the actual money, put his money where his mouth
none
is.
from his uncles.
Yeah,
it's a great movie. I needed a movie like this.
You're welcome, Mike. You're welcome. You're welcome. I put this on my watch list. The movie I was like, I'll watch this at some point. I'm never gonna fucking watch this, let's be honest. But if we watch it for the podcast, that's a win.
Yes.
Yeah, this is an
highly recommend
movie.
it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if it was at least nominated for Best Foreign Film.
Probably.
Because it was one of the highest grossing Thai movies ever, apparently.
You guys should definitely check it out, even though you know the plot, because it is beautifully shot.
It's hard to understate how well it's shot and how well the acting is.
I've tried to explain certain shots, but like the movie is beautifully put together.
Yeah.
Beautiful visuals here. Highly recommend checking it out. If there's any other movies like this that you'd recommend, please do so. Email us at podcast.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram. We are on Mastodon. Blue Sky.
I don't know how to log into
We're not
that.
going to be on Mastodon. We're going to be on Blue Sky.
Blue Sky.
And we're also going to be on Discord. Check out our Discord. And if you want to listen to our previous episodes, find them on any podcatching app. And while there, please leave a 5-star rating and review. We will read in the show no matter what it says, even if it's about you dying. If it's your last will and testament.
Oh, that'd be
leave
crazy.
us your money, though.
Yeah, leave us your money.
Yeah.
Give us some big bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't end up using this Kleenex, but it was close.
Yeah, I figured.
It was close. Let me tell you, man.
I almost got a little teary-eyed as well.
I think it's I think
if you had seen the movie, you would have.
I probably would have. Did you cry during while watching it?
I got very fucking close.
All right.
I got very fucking close.
Dude. You're
gooted. It's gooted to grandma. Good night, everybody.
M says to his mom, "Oh, whoa! I skipped ahead. I skipped way ahead. Whoa! Where did I go? Where am I here?
You're halfway through the movie. Let me.
I honestly am halfway.
That was my half the movie.
Oh no! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Okay, so he takes a. Let's see. Oh my god!
What happened? Ethan.